A dark grey bridge with a slight curve, an angelic yellow beam coming from the cars ahead, and a hellish fiery red coming from the cars in front. Two men stand at the edge with each of a glass bottle. The clouds so low you can kick them and start them, and the steam escaping the men's mouths like chimney smoke. Below them a thin, perfect layer of ice, and below that the perfect blue water that descends deep below. The men get louder and more animated as one man strikes the other with the bottle. The man dropped to the floor. As he fell, the other man panicked, a beam of sweat on his forehead, even though it was -3 degrees. He panicked. The clouds were not enough to hide the man's sins, and slowly lifted the other man up onto the side of the bridge, limb by limb. As the man fell through the mist, leaving a trail of nothingness behind him, waiting to feel the solid layer of ice stab his soft, weak skin. The ice breaks with a crash, and bits of ice get thrown everywhere. He reaches the racing water below, ready to sweep him up. He gets taken away, leaving a wavy trail of blood behind him, as the other man watches in shock, not only from the gruesome sight he witnessed, but the knowledge that he's the one at fault. As sweat drips down his forehead, paranoia starts to set in. He runs as fast as a scared drunk man can in the freezing winter, and he gets home safe, but nothing feels right. His wife interrogates him as he's not been home all night, and he doesn't feel the fear of losing the one he loves most. He watches TV and doesn't enjoy the same shows he once loved. The dead man's taken more from him than he ever could take from him. Months pass and the man is out with his wife on a lovely spring walk. They were on their way home and had to cross the curved bridge with a river below. He tenses up, seeing how clear the water is, but he thinks that his sin is decomposed. Unfortunately for him, his wife notices a watch caught on a branch at the edge of the river. Fighting to stay afloat, his wife runs to the edge to get it. And when she gets there, she notices a strange shadow around the watch, so she reaches in. A cold, wet, skinny thing was attached to the watch. He tried to convince her it was just a root of a tree, but he couldn't even convince himself of that. He suddenly remembered what had taken place a few months before, and he begged her not to. But she didn't care. She reached in and pulled it out, and she screamed. A rotten corpse had just been dragged out of the watery hell it resided in. They call the police, answer questions, and go home. She can't take it. She can't live knowing there's a dead man in that river, and the man tries to calm her constantly, but never succeeding for long. One morning is especially cold, so she takes a bath, and as she steps in, she remembers the man, and using a razor in the sink next to her, she slashes her wrist and writes, "I'm sorry, darling, I love you." 3 hours later, the man goes in to check on her and witnesses the sight. He calls the police and answers questions and goes on a walk. The air is cool and fresh, but the memory of his wife and that man, both dead because of him, haunts him the whole way to that godforsaken bridge. He sits on the edge of the wall on the bridge and waits for no one to be around, and praying he sees his wife again. He whispers, "I'll see you soon, my love."